So the uterine wall has three layers: the perimetrium, the serosal layer, which has the visceral peritoneum. Visceral, remember, there's a parietal perineum and a visceral. Visceral covers around certain organs. The myometrium, which is smooth muscle, muscular layer, and the endometrium. So again, looking at it, the perimetrium, which is the serosal layer, peritoneum coming down, the visceral peritoneum. The muscle layer is the myometrium. That's the one that will contract due to oxytocin and so forth. And then the endometrium, where menstruation would occur, baby implantation, and so forth there. So that's the uterine wall. Okay. Then if I go to the endometrium, there are two layers of the endometrium: the stratum basalis, which is the bottom layer, and the stratum functionalis. Here's the myometrium. Here's the stratum basalis. That's the layer that's not responsible to hormones. This is the layer that is. This is the layer that will shed. This is the layer that the baby would, this is where implantation would occur, known as the stratum functionalis. Okay. Again, histologic slide that you see there, this. Okay. Here are the blood vessels coming in, we'll discuss. Okay. So right here, we're now looking at the vascular supply to the uterus. Okay. So the vascular supply to the uterus would be this. Here is the abdominal aorta, which will split into two common iliacs. Then the common iliacs will split into an external iliac and an internal iliac. Coming off the internal iliac on both sides bilaterally, because this would be, you would have the uterine artery going. You would also have the vaginal artery too, supplying the vagina. But anyway, the uterine artery is going to come, and once the uterine artery comes, so here is the uterine artery come, then it would kind of go lateral up and down here. Now what I'm going to do is we're now going to send branches kind of into the uterus itself. So those branches that are going into the uterus itself are going to be called the arcuate. So they're going to transverse through the perimetrium, the arcuate, to go into the myometrium. So they would be going into, these would be into the myometrium. Here they are here. These are arcuate. Then what I'm going to do, then what we will do is, from the arcuate, we'll take off radial branches, subsequent radial branches off the arcuate that will go up into the endometrium. The bottom layer, which is the stratum basalis, will have the straight arteries. Okay, and as I start to move up, we get into the radial arteries, which in three-dimensional would surround the uterus, these radial arteries. So again, here's the uterine artery, here's the arcuate artery. The uterine artery is going up and down the lateral side of the uterus, then branching off of it, going into the uterus through the perimetrium, which you don't see, into the light would be these radial arteries here, which will come up. Here's the arcuate, okay, which then will come up and go, and then form the straight in the basalis, and the spiral arteries or coiled arteries in the functionalis there. Here's another picture there that you can see. Here's that uterine artery. That uterine artery there. Going up. Here are the radial arteries here. Okay. That you see there. Okay. And so we come straight up on the side here, and then those arcuate are going to go up into, so here's the uterine, you have, then the arcuate would go up into the uterine muscle, and then off of that, you would start to get the ones into the endometrium, and the ones in the endometrium would be the straight arteries, right here, going into, and then right here, the spiral arteries into the functionalis. Okay? And it's the spasm of these arteries that lead to the bleeding that can occur in menstruation. Okay, that's the picture there. Here's the vagina. The vagina, remember, had a vaginal artery, but it also was coming off the internal iliac. Okay. Here's the vagina, the birth canal. And it's going to extend from the cervix all the way to the outside. So here's a picture here. So here's the uterus again. That's the urinary bladder. That's the urethra. Here's the vaginal tube, vaginal pipe. You can say vaginal tube right there. Here's the introitus. This area here would be the vestibule as you go in there, opening into the vagina. Okay, here we are here. Now we're looking at the external genitalia here. Here's this triangular area here that you see. The vulva area. We'll go here to this term. The vulva are also called the pudendum. External. Here would be the mons pubis here. Their hairy area. Clitoris, urethra. This is where the urine is coming out. Here's the vagina, the opening being the vestibule into that. Okay. Right here is the prepuce. So the clitoris again is analogous to the penis in the male. And the prepuce covers that, which would be the foreskin in the male, which is removed in circumcision. The hymen is a partial covering, but once a young lady does intercourse or whenever, then that will be broken. Here's the anus there, right there. Okay. The labia majora. The labia is the larger outer pole. It's a hairy area. And when it closes over in the male, that's what forms the scrotum. And within that is the labia minora. There's a little recess between the majora and the minora, a little recess. And the minora would be the ventral surface of the penis if it would close over if this was in the male. Okay, we talked about that. Vestibular glands. So let's look at this. Here would be those vestibular glands right there, which would be the same thing as the bulbourethral glands in the male, which gives kind of a thick viscous secretion there. Now, the vagina itself lubricates due to cervical mucus and also due by being a mucous membrane. It doesn't actually have glands, but you know how mucous membranes are wet because they have mucus. You have mucus, and again, mucus is a combination of mucin plus the water, which gives you mucus. Lubricating ability. And also to protect the cells. The vagina has non-keratinized stratified squamous. Non-keratinized stratified squamous. Here's the breast. Female breast. Get that. Okay, the breast is made into lobes, about 15 to 25 lobes. They're modified sweat glands. The areola is that pigmented area around the nipple there. And the little ducts of sweat glands are right there. That's what makes it bumpy. Little ducts of sweat glands. Okay. The suspensory ligament. So the lobes that you have, the lobes that have 15 to 25 lobes, are separated. Each lobe is separated from one another by dense connective tissue and fat. Dense connective tissue and fat. But within a lobe are lobules. Now the dense connective tissue attaches to the pectoralis muscle, and so that forms the suspensory ligament to hold the breast. Within a lobe are lobules, and within the lobules are the alveoli. The alveoli are where milk is produced, and then the milk moves from the alveoli, myoepithelial cells, into the lactiferous duct and into a lactiferous sinus, a swelling area, which then comes out right at the nipple there for the letdown of the milk. Okay. So then, milk from the Life-Giver's duct to the Life-Giver's open to the outside at the nipple. Breast cancer, we have these mutations of genes called the BRCA1, BRCA2. These are screening. This is a screening test to see if maybe later the person will develop cancer. Maybe later that the person will develop cancer. These screening, this is a genetic screening. Okay. And risk factors for breast cancer, early onset menstruation, and late menopause. So these are the factors that increase the chance of breast cancer. So these are kind of what we could call a tumor marker gene. Actually, these are modified tumor suppressor genes that we have. Okay? So breast cancer, 70% of women have no known risk factors. Early detection, self-exam, doing the self-exams and mammography. There are many different treatments depending on the stage and grade of cancer, which I discussed in my staging and grading in AMP1. Here is a mammogram. This shows a lesion smaller that can be detected generally by the manual exam. And I will close the female reproductive anatomy here.